Hi everyone, welcome to Practice Insights. The channel is dedicated to supporting independent consultants like you with tools and techniques to help win gigs and deliver your projects. If you're looking to write a digital strategy, create an operating model, or just want a quick overview of software development, then make sure to subscribe because we'll have you need. In today's video, we'll take a look at the John Kotter change model. I'll break it down and give you the practice insights on how it all works. So let's get into it. So the Kotter change model is a well-established, well-evidenced, and perhaps the most well-known approach to delivering organizational change. It's a deeply empirical model that emerged from decades of research and has an 8-step process flow that is both accessible and logical. Its initial steps emphasize creating urgency around the need for change and the need to build informal networks and coalitions of people that support that change. It truly underscores the importance of creating and communicating a clear change vision while concurrently working to remove obstacles and roadblocks. It encourages getting early runs on the board and then building upon these quick wins to firmly anchor change within the organization. Now, let's take a look at each of these steps in a little more detail. So how do you go about creating urgency? Well, that's a great question. To create urgency, you need to build the case for change. So as a priority, go out and collate and assess as much financial, performance and customer data as you can find and use this to benchmark the performance of your organization. Gather feedback from unhappy customers and create emotive and compelling stories about their negative experiences. Enrich and deepen these stories by identifying organizational failures and use these to create vivid scenarios about the dire consequences of failing to change, set within the context of emerging market trends. The real practice insight here is to use data to build evidence, but tell stories to change hearts and minds. Now, if you want to know how to execute any of these activities, then just check the link below for more detailed how-to guides. So, in parallel to building your case for a change, you need to identify sources of organizational complacency. Complacency is a real enemy of urgency and it needs to be tackled. Now, complacency is tricky and it can manifest in many different ways. So first, go look for signs in the language of the organization. Does it dwell in the past? Does it bask in historic achievements? Then determine if there's a clear vision that people are actually aligned to. Reflect on how the organization is performing. Are goals narrow, siloed, functional, and underpinned by the wrong types of KPIs? Does the culture avoid confrontation, and do you hear excessive happy talk from management? Finally, to create urgency, you need to provide leadership and take personal ownership of the change. As a change leader, you really need to be sensitive to culture, pay homage to past successes while highlighting future challenges. Point to the future, emphasizing that markets, customers, environments are continuously evolving, so there's a need for constant vigilance. Communicate these messages using compelling stories. Lastly, remember to empower managers to act and coach and mentor them as leaders of change. So delivering transformational change requires collaboration, cooperation, and concerted organizational effort. So you will really need people who believe in the change to guide the change. So make sure you get the right people in your guiding team first. Set this team clear goals and then work to build commitment and trust between group members. Within the Kotter model, getting the size and composition of your guiding teams correct will improve your chances of success. So think very carefully about the following people and roles. Firstly, go out and find an executive to sponsor, champion and resource the change. Then create a senior guiding team with sufficient authority to oversee the various change strategies and guide the change implementation. Then establish your field guiding teams. These are your SMEs and vested stakeholders from different parts of your business. So think HR, finance and marketing. Finally, you need to pull together your change team. So your delivery engine, the people who will actively be involved in implementation and deployment. Your guiding teams will really need a common understanding of their goals, which requires that teams have a shared sense of purpose that is aligned to the organizational strategy. Team members must also understand their roles, and ideally their role capitalizes upon their individual skills and competencies. Guiding teams must have a clear process to follow so they can operate effectively, so spend time up front agreeing how things like decision making and conflict resolution will work. Look to balance the individual values of team members in order to build strong relationships and increase team efficacy. Remember also that your team doesn't face internally. It will need to work effectively with others, so make sure to describe and manage these interfaces. Lastly, creating effective guiding teams requires a climate of trust and commitment. Where trust is present, you will see more open and honest discussion, free from politics and self-interest. But remember that trust has grown and earned over time, so focus on keeping the team initially aligned on goals in order to sustain motivation. And make sure your own integrity and commitment to the change is evident for all to see. Essentially, walk the talk. So hit like, subscribe and leave comments if you want us to produce videos on how to build effective teams, or if you're interested in tools to diagnose the cultural dynamics of change teams. Now, creating urgency pushes people into action, but it's the vision that steers them in the right direction. A good vision offers a compelling picture of the future. It clarifies the general direction of change and helps identify the behaviours that must be encouraged. A good vision can also pinpoint performance measures that help the coordination of autonomous action. It also provides a great platform to build your communication strategy from. Now, Kotter's process for developing a vision has 3 core phases. Firstly, stating why the vision is needed in the first place, developing the vision itself, and then analysing, evolving and iterating that vision over time. So now we're going to take a look at each of these steps in turn. So why does Kotter's model emphasise clarifying the need for a vision? Well, in terms of the see-feel change dynamic, a good vision allows everyone involved to easily see why the change is needed, hopefully in a way that is clear, motivating and possibly even inspiring. Your vision should also be clear and achievable. Good vision statements describe an outcome that's appealing and desirable. Though a vision may end up as a simple statement, its development is not a simple process as it merges fact-based analysis with insights into what the new world could look like. Developing a vision is part art, part science. In Kotter's model, he recommends that you use your guiding teams to create the first strawman draft of the vision. So to do this, build upon the analysis used when creating the case for change and formulate new hypotheses about how the organisation could differentiate itself in the future. Review and iterate your findings with key stakeholders. Identify behaviours and success metrics needed to affect and measure the change, and repeat each of these steps to refine the vision before validating with a wider audience of stakeholders. Now, we know this is not simple, so let us know in the comments below if you would like to see a video that covers the detailed processes and tools required for creating a very robust vision. Now, once you have your vision drafted, you should undertake a comprehensive, fact-based analysis to ensure the vision is built on solid foundations. To start, assess your external environment. What trends can you see in the sector, across industries and in markets? What are your competitors doing? What threats, opportunities do you see? Then complete an internal SWOT assessment to identify your core competencies, key business processes, and the performance of the business itself. Next, assess your customer needs to understand their key requirements and expectations, their drivers of satisfaction, as well as their issues and complaints. And finally, do your best to benchmark to understand where best practice exists. Use all of this analysis to determine if your vision is solid. This analysis will also help reveal information about the size, scope and scale of the change needed. So, having the right vision is critical, but effectively communicating the vision is essential and key to capturing the commitment of the workforce and other stakeholders. Now, communication is just hard work. It should be continuous, candid, heartfelt effort aimed at conveying key messages and increasing the awareness of the change and its impact. Within Kotter's model, there are 3 communication activities. Initial focus is on communicating the vision, then engaging in continuous dialogue with stakeholders, before enrolling stakeholders as active participants in the change effort. At its core, good communication is essentially an endeavour to influence people to think and act in accordance with the new direction. To fully realise your vision, communication needs to reach everyone in the organisation who will play a role in making the vision a reality. So further develop and evolve your compelling stories. Keep messages simple, avoid jargon, and use images, analogies and metaphors that help people relate to the vision. Use every opportunity to repeat your messages across as many platforms, channels and forums as you can find. Encourage conversation and make communication as interactive as possible. Now, every change effort requires effective stakeholder engagement. Stakeholders can have a significant bearing, both positive and negative, on the successful outcome of your change effort, so you really need to build their buy-in. So get their feedback, build an understanding of their hopes and fears, and prepare them for the change. Genuinely engage them to build meaningful interpersonal relationships, because these relationships will get you through the challenging times. Now, building organisational commitment to the change effort requires that the organisation is enrolled in the change effort. Remember, however, that managing stakeholders is challenging as they have different needs, interests and appetites, some of all of which will be in conflict. Now, there are a wealth of tools you can use to plan communication and map and manage stakeholders, so many that warrant their own video. Just remember that nothing stays static on change programs, so adopt your communication processes to meet changing needs. The practice insight here is to work to understand resistance. Don't overload people with information too early, and finally keep in mind that good comms and engagement is hard work and it will never feel perfect from within the delivery team itself. So by now you should have a compelling case for change and a clear vision that has been actively communicated. Your next step therefore is to enable action by removing barriers to change and empowering people to take risks and to be innovative. So Kotter identifies 4 main change barriers which you need to watch out for. These are organisational structures, lack of skills, organisational systems and resistance from leaders and managers. With organisational structures, some of the key barriers tend to be the fragmentation of resources, siloed thinking and priorities, and the hierarchical control of decision making. So here, realignment of resourcing, priority and decision making is critical. To address skills gaps, you will need to explicitly define the new behaviours and identify the knowledge, skills, abilities and attitudes that will be needed to succeed in the new world. Organisational systems and processes often perpetuate behaviours that hamper progressive change, so these will need to be realigned. Finally, the most serious challenge to successful change comes when members of leadership or the management resist the change effort. So confront this resistance directly. Remember, groups don't resist, individuals do. Next, you will need to help employees break out of old patterns and old habits. To do this, encourage testing activities to provide safe opportunities to challenge traditional approaches and create a mindset of continuous improvement. Respond positively and constructively to failure. Fail fast, learn fast. Encourage and test new ideas as they emerge and scour industry for sources of innovation and best practice. Find ways to take calculated risks and most importantly, try to make the change environment fun, invigorating and enjoyable for the team members to work in. Delivering early, visible and meaningful quick wins is critical to building the credibility needed to sustain the change effort. What do quick wins do? Well, they provide evidence that the change effort is working and can keep senior executives committed during the difficult and noisy transitional phases when resistance and resourcing demands are high. Kotter sets out 4 ways to develop quick wins. First is to actively plan for visible improvements in performance, set out to achieve those quick wins, communicate wins visibly and convincingly early, and embed the learning from the quick wins into the plan going forward. Now, I've underscored that delivering quick wins is essential, but don't underestimate how challenging this can be. Overly ambitious targets can heavily tax scarce resources as well as divert attention from real objectives. On the other hand, targets that are too easy provide ammunition for skeptics. So look initially for low-hanging fruit that are measurable. Vague won't help you. Quick wins must be visible and timely so that people can see real and early evidence of progress. Ideally, quick wins are relevant and meaningful to critical stakeholders and are also relevant to your change objectives. All this builds trust and confidence. So once you've identified quick wins, you must make them happen. So conduct workshops to identify the quick wins, then set specific goals and work them into your delivery plans and budgets. Assign accountability for implementation of these plans so that the quick wins are actually delivered. And finally, ensure that your quick wins have KPIs so that management can track and see evidence of the value delivered by your change process. You must immediately communicate the achievement of your short-term wins to all relevant parties. Do not be shy or modest here because demonstrating progress is essential for all types of reasons, not least of which is keeping executive support. Use some of the comms techniques set out in step 4 and remember your core goal is to gain credibility, build support and demonstrate progress. So communicate with enthusiasm and excitement about achievements and progress. Clarify quite clearly how the wins are related to the change effort, which helps demonstrate the validity of the vision. And use this early learning to test the validity and feasibility of the vision itself and calibrate your delivery as appropriate. To do this, reflect on the challenge of delivering the quick wins and ask yourself if the change objectives remain achievable. Does the scope of the plan still work? Is the vision too bold? Are estimates still accurate? And can the change be sustained? This type of self-critical assessment will give you insights on what to improve upon and how to embed learning into your delivery plans moving forward. Now, it's essential that you recognize the dangers that can follow after short-term success. You must also understand that your change process can still fail to take root, even at this stage. It's not unusual for leaders to lose focus at this time, so vigilance is needed. It's at this time you need to lever the momentum and goodwill gained from delivering quick wins. Kotter advocates monitoring key organizational areas and getting the people part of the equation right in order to maintain momentum and ensure that change is reaching all levels of the organization. Remember to keep investing time in your relationships with senior leaders to sustain their support. As discussed in the last step, use the learning from early delivery to move forward more wisely and confidently. So regroup, refine and coordinate as appropriate. You now need to leave the moment of change and focus on those domains that take longer to change. So begin to think about processes, working practices, procedures and policies that need to be changed to fit with the new vision. So questions you might ask yourself are, how do structures and accountabilities need to be realigned with new processes? What information systems are needed to sustain the new business environment? Remember to plan for the coordinated implementation of these changes as processes, structures and systems are deeply interconnected and they will have to be transformed concurrently. Organizations are complex with structures, technologies, processes, measurements, rewards and people all interacting fluidly and dynamically to deliver business performance. All of these domains need to be realigned with your change to be successful. So remain vigilant on the change journey and Monitor the organisation to ensure that barriers have been removed and progress has been made. Now, after delivering a few short-term quick wins, you should begin to have a better idea about who, as in which individual, is moving initiatives forward and who's holding it back. The Kotter Model definitely encourages you to think carefully about whom you will delegate to lead changes and who will manage your projects. Consider how to energise exhausted leaders and determine who should be brought in to help where help is needed. Also, don't avoid identifying leaders that need to be removed from your guiding teams. So, hopefully by now you're at a point where you have proven that the change is necessary and that it can be done. It's about now, as multiple projects get underway, that the role of change leaders should shift from driving the startup to engaging and guiding the organisation through the change effort. This coordination requires that you provide guidance so that change teams can make decisions that are consistent with the vision. I'd encourage you to ensure that your change projects are coordinated into sensible portfolios where conflicts and priorities and resourcing can be balanced, and to continue to remove barriers to progress and unnecessary interdependencies between initiatives. Consider appointing a program manager to ensure that existing initiatives are well coordinated. And finally, have governance in place to support timely decision making. At this stage, it's more important than ever that support from organisational leaders is visible and evident, as staff will take their behavioural cues from these leaders. So make sure you continue to nurture and grow your personal relationship with leaders. Don't let progress create complacency, so maintain urgency and consistent communications. So you've delivered quick wins, gained good momentum, and have actually shifted people's behaviours. Your transformational effort now needs to be supported and reinforced by vital organisational cultural change so that you can achieve lasting integration of the change. To make the change stick, continue to deliver tangible outcomes and measuring success. So that's a complete summary of the Kotter Model. Please leave comments below and feel free to request videos on other consulting and delivery topics that interest you. And if you found this video helpful, then please hit the like button, consider subscribing and turn on notifications to be notified about when we release new videos. Until next time, happy consulting.